All right, welcome everybody to our second webinar related to the volunteer system. This webinar is all about conversion, our second phase. As a reminder, go ahead and mute. As I mentioned, I have muted all of your lines this time. So if you're speaking, we can't hear you, but there is a way you can get in contact with us, and again, we'll remind you here in a minute how to do that. Right here. Reminder, just a quick housekeeping note. We're continuing to learn about Join Me. I think we've got the mute function down. I think we've got the notes function down, and we're working on the recording. Just a reminder in terms of how to access. Because of the number of people on the line, I'm asking everyone to mute their phone. There is a conversation. I'll provide information via the PowerPoint that you should be on your screen. And we'll leave questions at the end. We'll leave time at the end for us to answer any questions. Today, Kathy is monitoring our question log, and so if you do have a question, access the little speech bubble that should be on the top of your screen with your Join Me tab, and then specify Kathy as the person who will actually see your message. Just a second, I am going to disable these chimes. All right. I hear you. It's difficult to hear with the beeps. I just figured out how to turn those chimes off, so you should not hear them anymore. Thank you for that feedback. So in terms of an agenda, what are we going to do today? It'll be similar to last time's conversation. We're going to do a quick recap of the project purpose, remind everyone why we were doing this project. We'll also do a quick recap on lead generation in case you weren't able to access that webinar, so we'll bring you guys up to speed. Then we're going to talk about what is conversion. We'll talk about who handles conversion, what tools will be available, and then some additional features of the volunteer system. So a similar format and flow to the conversation that we had last Friday. So hopefully you guys are internalizing this slide by now. Why are we doing this project? It's a big endeavor, and we just want to keep these 4 benefits in front of us at all times. And so we think and we know that this project will improve the customer experience and loyalty. It should decrease volunteer time and effort. It should also help us to increase our new membership as well as retain current members, and of course increase business efficiency. So I hope that you see evidence of these 4 benefits as we go throughout this presentation. Again, just trying to make sure everyone is feeling comfortable with our new operating model. Phase 1 is all about lead generation. We talked about that in detail last week. Phase 2 is what we're going to talk about today, so taking all of those individuals who have expressed interest in Girl Scouting and converting them to members. Again, that will be our focus today. Phase 3 is all about service delivery. And then Phase 4 is all about renewal, and we'll have more details on those phases during a webinar on July the 14th. As a reminder, there are 3 key technologies that are enabling this business model. One is a new website, the other is Salesforce, and the third is a volunteer toolkit. And all of those would come during our go live date in November. So hopefully that all sounds familiar to you guys. Again, just a quick recap of lead generation, and that's Phase 1. In the new business model, anyone can and should be generating leads, but recruitment and marketing are going to have primary responsibility for generating leads. Reminding you what a lead is all about. It's about getting that potential girl or potential adult's name, grade, obviously if it's a girl, and email. Getting that information so we can enter it in our system and begin to track that lead. As we talked last week, marketing will utilize expanded marketing activities as it relates to generating leads and have some lead generation responsibility. And some examples of the types of tactics that marketing might use are on the left-hand side. Similarly, recruitment managers will continue to generate leads in many of the same ways that we do today. We'll continue to have live recruitment events. We'll continue to do flyers, bracelets, PTA newsletters, etc. These events are not going away. Just want to repeat a couple things. The idea, however, is that perhaps we can do fewer of these recruitment events where we think that troops and groups can be organized digitally. A key note at the bottom of this slide is just to remember that everything that we do will have a call to action to collect potential leads information. Again, just as a recap from phase one, we're going to collect this information in a couple of different ways in August to November, and then post-November in Salesforce. This slide, because when we talk about converting members, it's going to be important to remember what kinds of leads we're actually generating. So we've got leads generated by marketing campaigns. Those will go onto the girl and adult referral forms in this interim period. Also, leads generated by recruitment campaigns that span service units will also go on those referral forms or sign-in spreadsheets. We'll continue to have leads generated by recruitment campaigns, and those leads will be managed on individual recruitment spreadsheets in this interim period. And then finally, there will be some leads identified by inside sales, and that'll be based on reports out of Personify, things like lapsed girls. Try to remember this because we're going to talk about who actually converts some of these leads in this webinar. This is just a recap. Hopefully everyone's nodding their heads. So then after we've collected all these leads, we've gone out, we've collected great information, we need to convert those leads. So what is conversion? And obviously that's where we're going to focus our time today. Conversion is about guiding potential girl and adult members, so those potential members are considered leads, from consideration of Girl Scouts to members, converting them from leads to members. That's what conversion is all about. The first step is to ensure that all girls and adults are followed up with by phone or by email. So I know this is a challenge for us today because we've got lead information in lots of different places. But that's the first key to conversion, is making sure that timely follow-up is happening. This timely follow-up will be, the idea of this will be to match the girls or adults to an opportunity that meets their needs. And that's where the Girl Opportunity Catalog and the Volunteer Opportunity Catalog come into play. And again, we're going to get into more detail about that in this webinar. And then finally, we want to make sure that we're able to guide any member who's unsure about the opportunity they want to pursue through the process and ultimately to becoming a member. Now, this is a slide that GSUSA has provided, and I know at first it looks a little daunting, but if you just stick with me, it's a really good slide to help you understand what the steps are in conversion. For girl leads, there are 3 key steps for conversion after that lead has entered their contact information. First, the girl is given the opportunity to view the opportunity catalog and select the experience that best meets her needs. After the girl has accepted, or after the girl has viewed the opportunity catalog, she'll have the opportunity to actually join. So she would join the opportunity that's on the catalog. And then finally, the girl members would receive their troop assignment. For volunteers, there are 2 additional gates. So they'll too go and access the opportunity catalog. They will join, and then they will complete the screening process. After they complete the screening process, they'll receive a welcome email, and that will have the video that hopefully you guys had the opportunity to see from in an email from Susan, and then they're appointed to their role. And so these gates this is what we're going to go through today. So who handles conversion? Before we even go through, kind of who all those gates, I know everyone's interested in who's going to do what. When we talked briefly about lead conversion during our all-staff meeting, we said that inside sales will convert a subset of leads. Now we're getting into the detail of which subset is which, who's doing what. Think about those leads we talked about on the previous slide with lead generation. Those are the same ones that you see on this slide. So the leads generated by those broad marketing campaigns will be converted by inside sales. Again, these are leads that come in through things like Facebook ads, maybe we do a billboard, maybe we do print advertising. We don't know what it's going to be yet until we develop those plans. But those leads will be converted to members by inside sales. Similarly, The leads generated by larger scale recruitment events will also be converted to members by inside sales. Remember, before November, these two types of leads will be stored on girl-adult referral spreadsheets, and afterwards they'll be stored in Salesforce. Leads generated by in-person recruitment events should continue to be converted to members by recruitment managers. However, we do want to ensure that this process is accelerated and that no one falls through the cracks. And so, in an effort to line up with what you'll see when this is an automated process in Salesforce, if a volunteer is not converted to a member within 9 business days of the recruitment event, or that troop doesn't get going, rather, then those leads will be turned over to inside sales for conversion as well. Finally, community engagement and inside sales will work together as a team to convert lapsed girls to members. We still need to define our Lapsed Girl campaign along with the way that these two departments will work together. And we expect to have that defined by the 3rd week in July. And so this was a question that came out of the lead generation webinar is, when do we turn over lapsed girls? When does inside sales get them? A couple things to clarify. One is community engagement and inside sales will be working together as it relates to lapsed girls. And secondly is we still have some more work to do to determine some of the details around that. But I think this is a key one that a lot of folks were asking is which leads, whose leads, etc. This is intended to clarify that. So inside sales is following up on those broader leads coming from some broader leads coming from some of those broader sources. Recruitment managers will continue to convert leads at events in their individual service units. While we obviously have individuals who are responsible for lead conversion, we want to mention that once Salesforce is implemented, the system will generate some automatic emails to prod the individual along the process until they become a member. You'll see that the automatic emails are generated with up to 6 days of inactivity. Some of these emails were the ones that you were provided at your June 13th meeting, so you can see what they say to encourage people to go back into the system and kind of go through the next gate. After 9 days of activity, once we get to Salesforce, a task would be sent to inside sales to follow up with that particular lead. You'll see that that 9 days lines up with when we want to pass over troops who have not, or potential leads who have not been converted to troops that were recruited at those individual recruitment events to inside sales as well. So we're trying to line up some of those business processes so that when the system comes in November, it will make sense and it'll be seamless. I hear Kathy over here typing, so I know there are lots of questions. Before we go any further, we want to talk about a term that you're going to hear in Salesforce, and that term is opportunity. And you'll hear that term used in a couple of different ways. First, an opportunity can be a person for us to convert from a lead to a member. An opportunity can also be a way for a member to participate in Girl Scouts. These will be stored in the opportunity catalog. You'll hear about inside sales being assigned leads or opportunities to contact for conversion. Therefore, inside sales becomes the opportunity owners. So a key term, and we're going to continue to use that term, so we wanted to make sure that we defined it before we move any further. So what tools will be used to convert members? Remember, we've got all these leads that have come in, and we need to convert them to members. A key enabler to make this system work is what we're calling the what is called the opportunity catalog. This catalog contains pre-planned opportunities for both girls and adults to select. There's an opportunity catalog for girls, and there's a separate one for adults. Let me repeat that. There's an opportunity catalog for girls, and there's a separate opportunity catalog for adults. Remember when we talked about the opportunity catalog in June, I talked about it in reference to other extracurricular activities that I might sign my kids up for. When I sign my daughter up for gymnastics, I go to the gym's website, I take a look at the options, and then I choose the one that meets my schedule. When I call to sign her up, no one asks me when I think the class should be held. They don't try to rearrange the classes to meet my schedule. I look at all of the options, and I pick the one that will work for my family. The Girl Scout Opportunity Catalog that we're talking about here will enable a similar situation for parents and our members. With Salesforce, once a lead shares their contact information, that information is loaded onto our website. Then the potential member is directed to the Opportunity Catalog. So that's the next screen that they'll see after they put their contact information. And I'm going to show you a couple screenshots here in a minute. Note that the work process will allow for some flexibility. Not every opportunity has to go immediately into the catalog. Some troops will still organize in the current way, but this is where we would like to move to. A couple notes on this slide. You'll see that before that go live date, we are going to have an opportunity catalog. It's just going to be stored as a spreadsheet, and will be loaded with opportunities by recruitment, program, and community engagement. And we're going to talk on a couple slides about some specifics about how we intend to populate that opportunity catalog. And then obviously after the go live date, the catalog is going to be stored on the new website for our members to see, and then we'll obviously be able to maintain it from Salesforce, which talks to that website. So let's take a look at a couple of screenshots to bring this to life. So if you remember from last time, this is how a lead enters the system. They'll go into our website and they'll access the Get Started form. This collects basic contact information, and remember, that form immediately creates a record in Salesforce. Once the individual clicks Next, and this is actually a copy of the Get Started form for girls, once the individual clicks Next, the next thing they'll be directed to is, I wish I had a drum roll, the opportunity catalog. A couple of items that I wanted to note about the opportunity catalog. The first one is parents can search for a particular troop. And so up here it says pick a specific troop group. So if a volunteer or troop leader wants to add a girl to their troop, they would simply direct parents to the website. The parents would put in their general contact information on this form. They'd come to the opportunity catalog and search for the specific troop that they're interested in joining. Parents can also search by zip code. This is the piece I don't want folks to miss, is that when you search by zip code, you get a list of all of the options that are available for you. So no longer are you tied just to the one option that happens to come to your school and recruit that evening. You can pick from any of the options that you see in the opportunity catalog that have available slots. Looking at the catalog, I want to point out a couple of additional things, and hopefully this will answer some of the questions that we saw came through 2 Fridays ago. First, the catalog allows us to input a short description for opportunities. These can be series or troops. I think that was a question that folks had, is can I put series in here? The troop meeting location is also listed, but what you'll see in the screenshots is that the address is an approximate address, i.e. the corner of Main and Elm, and not an exact address. We can do this with our opportunity listings if we believe that this is needed to ensure the girl's safety. The catalog also shows how many girl slots are available in that particular opportunity, and this automatically deducts this number as girls sign up. And so this should prevent girls signing up for things where there are no more slots, because the system is automatically keeping track. Finally, the opportunity catalog indicates how many volunteers are still needed for the opportunity. So parents know at this point, before they move through and sign their daughter up, that whether volunteers are still needed for that particular opportunity to go forward. There's also an opportunity for parents to click unsure for their daughter if they're not sure which opportunity they want to register for, and obviously that creates a task for follow-up, and then they can also register as an individual member. For volunteers, there's a similar flow, but if you remember back to those gates we talked about, there will be a couple more steps after the opportunity catalog. But recall, this is the entry form. I'm just going to ask you guys, remember to give your questions directly to Kathy. If you could just give them to Kathy, that would be great. It's a little distracting when they pop up on my screen. Thanks. This is the entry form for volunteers. Your potential volunteers, your leads, will go in, put in their basic contact information, and then they also will be directed to a volunteer catalog. This can include opportunities for troop leaders, series volunteers. There's a lot of flexibility in terms of the types of volunteer opportunities that we can put out here. Similar to the girls, you can specify a specific troop or group number, or you can search by your zip code. Again, it tells you how many volunteers are needed for that opportunity, and then it automatically deducts as those slots are filled. So lots of million-dollar questions, hopefully, that we're answering in this one. But how are we going to populate the opportunity catalog? This is a different way of working for us, but I think it's the right way to work to make to make things easier for potential members. So here are the ideas that we have to populate the opportunity catalog. First, we would like to standardize the number of troop sizes at a minimum of 12, and I should put minimum on that slide. Obviously, if the troops want to be larger than 12, we welcome that. The way that we like to do this is that we would communicate with new and existing troop leaders that we consider any troop under girls as having available slots unless they notify us otherwise. We plan to send an e-blast to current troop leaders in early August to inform them of this desired standard and give them an opportunity to tell us whether they want more than 12 girls, whether they want up to 12 girls, or whether they don't want any additional girls. So we will give leaders the opportunity to opt out, but we want to set the expectation that troops have a minimum of 12 girls. We'll also set this expectation up when we set up new troops. So you can imagine that this can be a very powerful way to populate that opportunity catalog. All those troops out there that have 8 girls, 7 girls, we would look to load those into the opportunity catalog. Second is that we would like to populate the catalog with several pre-planned opportunities. Hopefully this doesn't come as a surprise. I think we've been preparing you all for this for a couple of months. But we're asking every recruitment manager, community engagement manager pair to identify 2 pre-planned opportunities that will happen before the end of the calendar year by the end of July. These opportunities would have to have the date, time, location, and capacity of the activity. So what are these opportunities? What could we pre-plan? This could be anything. These could be volunteer-led series that we know are going to happen. These can be experientials that we want to set up because we know that that's what's needed in that community. These could be troops in areas where we know troops are going to get started, and we have a good, we can predict pretty well when and where those troops will meet, like if they all meet after school on a particular day. Spring break day camp, when we get to the second half of the year, can go into the opportunity catalog. So there are a lot of options, but the key is we'd be looking for 2 options per service unit to be loaded into the catalog by the end of July. And we're going to send instructions on how we're maintaining that spreadsheet until we get to Salesforce. We'll obviously allow for some flexibility on that 2 per service unit. Some service units will be easier to set up pre-planned opportunities than others, and we'll just handle that on a case-by-case basis. But in general, this is about the number of opportunities we'd like to get to in this subset. Inside sales will also be able to identify areas where there's a high demand for opportunities and communicate that back to both recruitment and community outreach. So maybe there are a lot of leads coming in from a marketing campaign, and they're all in a particular area where we don't have a lot of opportunities. Inside sales would be able to see that and communicate back, again, with the recruitment and community engagement teams, and the teams would then brainstorm to figure out how would we create opportunities in those zip codes. Finally, we'd also like to enter some designated program opportunities into the catalog, things like CSA conference or camp. But we have to do a little bit more work with GSUSA to make sure we understand the workflow in terms of how these will happen and how the program information will flow back and forth. And so I put that as TBD. That's definitely a desire, and I think we'll be able to find a workaround to get some program opportunities into the catalog as well. So this is how we plan to populate the opportunity catalog. After selecting the right opportunity, both girls and adults can join the organization, and this is an example of the join screen for volunteers. You'll note that with the joining interface, there is an opportunity to contribute to family partnerships. So I think that was a question that also came up during our conversation on the 13th that is incorporated in the system. For volunteers, after they've joined the organization, they would come to screening. A few key changes about the screening process, and I know this is one that is a big question. Screening will happen after a member joins. We asked the pilot council whether this was of any concern to them when they went through the pilot all of last year. They indicated that since volunteers can see the steps in the process, if they had concerns about the ability of them to pass the screening, they typically stopped the process and called counsel. And remember, on this screen, you can see what all the steps of the process are. And so in their experience in doing this live, there were very few issues with individuals who were unable to pass the screening process who went all the way through. They usually stopped, asked the question, and then decided for themselves whether or not to proceed. Another key change that's going to happen in the screening phase is that we're going to require a background check only. This will be simpler for volunteers. And with this system, we will be moving to a background check vendor that has a more extensive background check that can give us better information about items that we think will be concerning. And this process is in alignment with GSUSA best practices. So once we move to Salesforce, we'll just have that background check. The other thing that's great news is that the background check vendor will be integrated into the system. So that means the information that's gathered from that background check will be automatically sent back into Salesforce. So that eliminates all of that data entry that's going on today to input background check vendor information into a volunteer database. Another key feature is that volunteers will be automatically prompted to update their background check once every 3 years as part of the renewal process. We're going to talk about the data upload here in a second, but remember that we'll be uploading membership data from Personify into Salesforce. And through that renewal process, if volunteers' background checks are more than 3 years old, they'll be automatically prompted to re-enter their background check. So we think this is another great way to ensure the safety of our girls. And so there are some nuances between when we go live and kind of the pre-go live period in this screening phase. The first is around the application. Like we mentioned, when we go live after November, there'll be no volunteer application, no separate application that's needed. Remember, we've collected all of that volunteer's basic contact information when they entered it in that Get Started page as a lead. Before we go live, though, we still have to collect the volunteer's information. And so we will still have a volunteer application, but it will be dramatically simplified from where it is today, including taking off all of the requests for references, some of the education information. So there will still be an application check before November, but again, it's going to be much more simple than it is today. In terms of a background check, obviously background check will be required both before we go live and afterwards. Before we go live, there will be a separate background check also on our website. We will be moving to that more extensive background check even before Salesforce gets here. But the benefit after Salesforce is that that background check information is integrated into the process. And then finally, in terms of the volunteer database, before we go live, there will still be some data entry of application and background information into a VDB. It should be a simplified VDB, but it will still be there. When I say simplified, meaning it probably won't have as many columns as it has today. After we go live and after a couple of months of making sure all of the data is passing back and forth accurately, that volunteer database should no longer be needed because all that volunteer information is stored in Salesforce. And I know that if I could see your pom-poms waving now, they'd be waving. Finally, in terms of welcome and appointment, the volunteer welcome email is integrated into Salesforce and is automated. Again, that standard welcome video is included for each volunteer, and that email also includes their troop appointment and access to the volunteer toolkit. There is a welcome email for girls as well, and that includes their troop leader information and the confirmation of their placement. So that automatically comes out of Salesforce. Remember, I've been showing you the front-end screens and kind of showing you what the member sees, but on the back end, so Salesforce is what's charging all of this on the back end, it's keeping track of this record. And so as the person moves from being a lead to being converted, Salesforce is keeping track and changing their membership status. And so that's the beauty, is that once that lead information is in the system, we can track them using Salesforce. Similar to what I showed in the lead generation webinar, the reporting out of the system is incredibly robust. Obviously, I'm not expecting that you can see the details. All I'm trying to show you here is the type of reporting that's available. On this report, we can see how many leads have not been converted by opportunity owner. We can see how many opportunities are open, how many opportunities are closed, kind of using opportunities as that person opportunity in that case. We can see how long different leads have been in the system without converting them and run reports on that. And obviously the point here is that we'll have this information at our fingertips so we can make better decisions. So how will we know that conversion has occurred? How will we know when new members are added? Again, I think this was a question that many of you guys had posted on June the 13th. Before we go live, service units will be notified of new members via the membership master list that's posted on VSN. We'll also have an adults-only membership master list, and I told Kathy I'm not sure about the term adults-only, but we'll have a membership master list with just adults, that's how I'll say it, for all service team members in a password-protected area on the VSN, so they'll continue to get that information. And the current membership master list will still be posted for service unit chairs and data coordinators. After Salesforce implementation, Salesforce generates an automatic email to service units when there's a new volunteer in their service unit. So that's great news. It's automatic. As soon as someone comes into their service unit, the designated contact gets an email. Staff can pull reports directly out of Salesforce or use InfoScout to also get this information. And then we'll continue to use the membership master list, just to make sure that, again, no one is falling through the cracks. So there is a way to ensure that everyone is aware when new people are joining in their service unit. We talked about lead generation goals last week, and so we wanted to talk a little bit about conversion goals and what this means for performance goals. So recruitment managers' conversion work will be reflected as the activities that contribute to their new girl goal. And so this is no different than saying, we have to go out and recruit 100 girls or we have to convert 100 members. So the work that recruitment managers do in conversion aligns with their new girl goals. Inside sales will have conversion goals. So each inside sales team member would be responsible for converting a certain percentage of leads assigned to them. And then community engagement managers, similar to recruitment managers, their conversion work will be reflected as the activities that contribute to them actually retaining girls and adults. And all of this is just making sure that we're converting individuals who have shown an interest in Girl Scouting. I think this is one of the most exciting things about the system, is it's really going to help us keep track and do a better job with all the follow-up. So just a couple of slides on some additional information about conversion and data. One big question that I think a lot of folks have is, how does the data travel? Before we go live, there's going to be an initial upload of data from Personify to Salesforce. Membership information for the past 3 years that's in Personify will be uploaded to Salesforce. So we're not going to have to sit and enter in things manually. There's going to be an automatic data migration. After that initial upload, Salesforce and Personify talk. Salesforce does become our system of record for membership, and membership is processed in Salesforce. But nightly, there will be an update between Salesforce and Personify to make sure the two systems talk. And remember, the reason that we still are keeping Personify in the mix is because we still need a way for our members to register for events. And that's just a functionality that's not yet available for us in Salesforce. And we just thought we'd throw this adage in here so you guys can continue to remember it. If it's not in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. And so Salesforce is really where we're going to be storing everything. So just in summary, and then we're going to move to some of the questions that Kathy has been over here answering feverishly. Conversion is all about moving a potential member or a lead to membership. When we move to Salesforce, you'll also hear us talking about this as a close. When we talk about these terms like close or conversion, remember that those are all internal terms. Those aren't things that we go out and say to a potential member, oh, I closed you. No, these are internal terms. They are Salesforce terms, but it's not anything that we'll publicly be communicating. Inside sales, kind of that new team that everyone's like, what are they going to do? There are opportunity owners. They'll use that girl and adult opportunity catalog to determine the opportunities or the ways to participate that best suit that potential member. Recruitment staff will continue to convert leads recruited at live recruitment events, and community engagement staff, together with inside sales, will work to convert lapsed members using the opportunity catalog as needed. And again, as I mentioned when we talked about the leads that inside sales will be converting, we still have some more work to do to figure out what that working together is going to look like, but that's some work that's ongoing in the next couple of weeks. And finally, an automated email welcoming the new member to the organization will include that welcome video from GSUSA and are sent to volunteers after they purchase their membership. So that's conversion. Any questions? I'm sure there are lots of questions. So Kathy is going to start reading off the questions, and we're going to answer them to the best of our ability.
Okay. First question was, who convinces an adult with a small troop to be listed in the opportunity catalog and to receive girls who are converted? Well, the quick answer to that, although there's a little longer one out on the frequently asked questions spreadsheet, is that we're going to request information via an e-blast from current troops in early August regarding the number of open slots. We're going to assume that any troop that doesn't have 12 girls still has openings, but we're going to let the leaders tell us if they feel differently. Okay, next question was, so the emails sent at 1 hour, 3 days, and 6 days are sent automatically by Salesforce, and the answer is yes. Somebody else would like to know, will we have an opportunity to look at the program before we go live? They have told us that we should be up for approximately 2 weeks before our go live date, and we will have limited testing ability. So exactly what that means, we don't know yet. Someone else wanted to know, if a volunteer wanted to be I don't know whether it was a troop leader or wanted a service team position and then changed their mind after the fact, would we relist that position out in the volunteer opportunity catalog? And the answer is yes, provided that some staff member knew it. Yes, we can relist any opportunity at any time. Does a troop leader get an email notification when a girl is added to a troop? I don't think that we've specifically been told that one way or another. Rhonda?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The email that...
Unmute in case Susan has an answer.
Oh. Hold on, Susan. We're going to unmute for Susan to talk only if she... Hold
on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I think the leader does get an email automatically, but I also think that initially probably inside sales will be contacting the leader also directly, just because this is a new process.
Right. Will paper registrations be entered in Salesforce? Well, this is a yes and a no. Between August to probably October, they will be entered into Personify, but we have to have a cutoff date, which we have yet to determine because we don't have a go-live date yet, at which point we'll have to stop doing data entry into Personify because we will already have pulled the templates to send to GSUSA to upload into Salesforce. So there will be a little bit of a lag time in there, a couple of weeks, where we will not be doing data entry into either system because we won't have Salesforce yet, and we will already have pulled our templates. And that's the period actually that I spoke about before where we will have some limited testing ability. After our go live date, everything, all paper forms will be data entered into Salesforce. Which system's information will be considered correct, i.e. if a customer's contact information is incorrect in Personify but correct in Salesforce, Will Salesforce overwrite Personify's information, vice versa? Once we go live in Salesforce, if it isn't in Salesforce, it doesn't exist. There will be actually nightly updates through a software bridge that they've built where the information will flow back and forth, but Salesforce will be considered our membership database moving forward. What about event deadlines, maximum number of girls, cost, does parent have to attend?
So if I'm understanding that question correctly, I think that has to do with whether or not the events would be the events on the opportunity catalog. And if I'm going down the wrong path, send Kathy a quick note. Remember what we said is right now we do have to figure out what the right event flow is for events on the opportunity catalog. But events are still something that girls and adults would register for via eBiz. So that's where the interface would come. We've got to make sure that once we put the events out there that we have a good way to, inform the person of all the things you just mentioned. But for right now, we are working with GSUSA to make sure we have the right workflow on that.
How long does the volunteer have to let business services know that they do or do not want more girls?
We'll send the email right now. I mean, we haven't drafted the email yet, but our idea is that we would send the email out in early August. And we'd like to give volunteers about 2 weeks. We don't want to keep it open long indefinitely, but we'd like to give volunteers about 2 weeks to tell us whether or not they would be accepting new girls. And we're working with Kathy and her team right now to figure out an easy way to do that, whether it's an email back, who it go back to, or if it's an input form on the website. But we're looking about 2 weeks for volunteers to let us know.
Do staff get notified of a new member when the troop leader is notified?
No, I mean, Susan, correct us if we're wrong, but I don't think, there's not currently an email flow that also goes to staff. But remember, those membership master lists will still be out there on the VSN, and they're posted weekly. And so staff members can access that just like our volunteers can to see when new members are, added. In Salesforce, staff will also be able to pull reports out of Salesforce, so you'll be able to see when service units are increasing by members.
Are there similar membership reports to run in Salesforce as there is in Personify? Well, we don't know exactly what the membership reports are in Salesforce yet, but we certainly have to encourage everybody to go to InfoScout.
Yeah, and based on what we have seen, I think you'll be able, the information that you're currently getting out of Personify, i.e., the girls in a service unit or troops in a service unit, those are the types of things, based on what they've shown us, we believe that information should be able to be pulled out of Salesforce. Okay. Okay.
Will Salesforce change the information inside, whoops, they're coming in fast enough, they're going off my screen. Hang on one second. Sorry.
Hold on, Kathy's reading.
Hold on, they're coming in fast enough that I can't read them and they're scrolling off my screen. Sorry, technical difficulties, 1 second, please. What about the volunteers that have no access to a computer or the internet?
Like we've mentioned, there will still be a workflow for paper forms. And so volunteers and parents of girls, there'll still be an opportunity for them to submit paper forms if necessary, and those would be entered into Salesforce. If they don't have access to see that opportunity catalog, I think that's where they could call, you know, and they would be directed to inside sales who could help to match them with the right opportunity.
Question that I lost was, so will Salesforce change the information inside of Personify, or are we just supposed to consider Salesforce as the correct info again? Salesforce is the correct info, but the information will flow back and forth nightly. However, again, if it isn't in Salesforce, it doesn't exist.
And maybe just, you know, because I think that's the question we're kind of getting a couple times, maybe just for clarification, Salesforce is our membership database. So that membership information from Salesforce is flowing to Personify. The information that Personify is going to have current is the event registration information.
Right. Some service units are more troop-based, and it's hard to ask anyone to come up with 2 opportunities to put in the catalog.
Yeah, and this is where, you know, I noted that we will have some flexibility, and so if we've got some service units where we think we can't come up with 2 pre-planned opportunities, we might just look for a third one in a different service unit. What I would say, though, about those service units that are troop-based, though, is those are great service units where we can pre-plan the troops. And the example that I'll give is back to my daughter's school. They have Girl Scout troops at every level. It's a very troop-based school. All the Girl Scout troops meet on Mondays at 4 o'clock. So it's a pretty good bet that when the new troop comes on board in the fall, it's going to be a Daisy troop that meets Mondays at 4 o'clock at the school. And so we can pre-plan that troop opportunity and recruit the girls and adults to that pre-planned troop. So I think even in those troop-heavy areas, we have to start thinking about pre-planning those troops to make things easier for the troop leaders and the parents.
Regarding volunteers that have no access to the internet, what about background checks? Will we still be using IntelliCore?
I am going to unmute so Susan can answer that question. Hold on just a second. Okay, Susan, you can go.
Will you repeat the question?
Regarding the volunteers that have no access to the internet, what about background checks? Will we still be using IntelliCore?
No, but we have discussed we haven't made a decision on the background check vendor we're using, but we've interviewed 2 different places, and both of them have ways for people to get their background check using a mail-in form.
Okay, I'm going to put you all back on mute.
Do the opportunities that we need to set up by the end of July, can they be later opportunities in the spring, like spring break day camp?
Good question. We'd like for the 2 opportunities that we talked about in July to be ones that happen by December 31st. Obviously, spring break day camp will be an opportunity for the kind of the back half of the year request, but we'd like 2 that happen before December 31st. We will send an email out with, again, specific instructions, but the reason we want them before December 31st is because inside sales won't be able to do their job of converting those members from those sources we talked about without current opportunities. So think about the girls coming in through girl referrals, marketing campaigns, large-scale recruitment events. Inside sales is going to need opportunities to place them in, before the spring. So yes, spring break day camp is a great example of an opportunity, but what we're requesting is 2 opportunities per service unit that will happen before December 31st.
Is Salesforce set up to take multiple types of payment, i.e. cookie dough, financial aid, electronic checks, etc., or will it only take credit cards?
It's similar to eBiz today in that it'll only take credit cards. And so the financial assistance,
there is a way that can be set up so that people can apply for it actually online through the application process, and then it's approved through the back office. Electronic checks, I don't think I've seen anything on that. I don't know, we'll have to research that. We will put together a question log when we're done with this so that we'll put all the answers to these. Cookie dough, again, we'll have to look at that. Erin wants to say something, if you could unmute for a moment.
I'm so sorry. All I wanted to say was by the opportunities catalog, getting those opportunities in November, thinking about where we are right now in membership, this is a great opportunity to think about those places where you do need to have series and you can go ahead and start recruiting. And so I just wanted to say that out loud because I think that that's what happens is we think of those opportunities already being in the fall or being after January 1st. And I think this is a great way to say this is how girls are going to be served. So think about those areas where you're a little bit behind now and how we can maybe move that up until the fall. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. We're pros at this muting and unmuting now.
When you talk about an event, is this a one-time recruitment event or a series?
When I was referring to, and I'm assuming that question is referring to the opportunity catalog, the opportunity catalog would be a way that girls can participate, and so we wouldn't put recruitment events in the opportunity catalog because that's not how the girl can participate. We would put events in there if it's a legitimate pathway for the girl to participate. Remember, the opportunity catalog is what we're using, what Inside Sales is using to match potential members to a Girl Scout opportunity. So we wouldn't want Inside Sales to refer a girl to a recruitment event. We want them to refer them to a way that they can participate in Girl Scouting.
So would the recruitment manager run these troops like experientials until adults step up? If so, you are suggesting we run 2 opportunities per service unit before September 30th? There are not enough days in the week for some to physically do this, and not all areas have volunteers.
Okay, so September 30th was never a date that we threw out there. So the 2 opportunities per service unit, again, we said by December the 30th. Some of those opportunities will be experientials until adults step up. But again, many of those should be troops in areas where we know troops are going to form. And so I want to make sure people are understanding that if we have areas where troops always form, we always get the Daisy Troop started, we should go ahead and set those up in the opportunity catalog. Some will be experientials, but I would expect, just like today, we're selective about where we do those experientials, but I do expect that some will be experientials. Some will be volunteer-led series, like Erin mentioned, where we know that we have to go out and get a series. The idea with that opportunity catalog is we're making it easier for people to make decisions based on their schedule.
Will our marketing be promoting that we have an opportunities catalog? That way, for those who do not have internet, can call.
So I think there might be 2 different questions in there. I think the first one is, will our marketing be... yes, Susan. The first one is, will our marketing be promoting the opportunities catalog? So like we mentioned, the marketing materials will all have a call to action for people to go to our website. After someone puts in their information, the very next thing that they see is that opportunity catalog. Certainly we can take back to Marcia if there's an opportunity to also put on there, take a look at all your fantastic options. I think that's fair. The second part of that question, can you read the whole question again?
Will our marketing be promoting that we have an opportunities catalog? That way, for those who do not have internet, can call.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand the part about those who do not have internet, but certainly the call to action will be directing people to our website, and if internet access is unavailable, they can always call and we can access the opportunity catalog. Just want to reiterate again, though, that when we get to our new website, it will be compatible with mobile devices. So definitely understand that some people don't have access to internet in a kind of a computer format, but I think when you talk about accessing the internet on a mobile device, many more people have access in that way. I just want to step back and kind of talk about I want to reiterate one thing. Yeah, so I see, back on this access, so yes, not everyone is gonna have access to internet, that's understood. Those individuals can always call us and we can help them, we can tell them what the opportunities are, and we will have access to paper forms, and those can be input as well. So, we do have ways to handle people who don't have access to the internet.
And if they have a way to get to any of the regional offices, each office has computers for volunteers to use, so.
Right. I just want to go back to this slide really quickly because I want to make sure that everyone has internalized this and really understands the role that inside sales will play in converting leads to members. And so this first bucket, these leads generated by marketing campaigns, think of these as girl and adult referrals today. And so today, girl and adult referrals are assigned to each recruitment manager. And the recruitment manager has a responsibility to follow up and basically match those girls with an opportunity without the benefit of an opportunity catalog. In the future, even before we go live with the software, this is something that will be done by inside sales. So this should free up that capacity from those recruitment managers to actually follow up on the individual members. This is the responsibility of inside sales to convert these members. So that should be of benefit. The other thing is that leads generated at some of these large-scale recruitment events. I think today a lot of times we go out to recruitment events or go out and do tables at festivals and fairs and parades, and it's the follow-up that bogs us down. Again, something else that will be handled by our inside sales team. You can see how important it will be for the recruiters and community engagement folks to work closely with the inside sales team. So some of those responsibilities that currently fall on the recruiters, because it comes about and it's kind of one more thing to do, that will fall on the inside sales team, and that will be their primary responsibility, is to convert these leads to members. So I want to make sure that everyone is understanding that and kind of understands the benefit of having a whole nother department whose focus is to convert members.
Will it be compatible with Apple programs? Currently, VSN is not compatible with iOS. I'm not aware that the VSN isn't compatible with iOS. We will have to look into that a little bit further. We'll come back to that. That will be part of the FAQs when we're done. Who will input the paper forms? The ones that people who do not have internet fill out. That will be handled by business services the same as it is now. Will we, as recruitment and CEM, be held accountable if we do not turn conversions to leads?
So just to make sure, so leads are converted. So leads are converted to members. Recruitment and community engagement will continue to have membership goals. So in essence, today we should be converting leads to members. We just don't use that terminology. And so there will still be an accountability for recruitment and community engagement to their membership goals, which in the Salesforce terminology means those leads have been converted.
The example with that was, let's say we meet our goal but still have a high volume of leads that we didn't convert.
Oh, okay.
But there's the handoff.
Okay. So okay, now I better understand the question. And so a couple things. One is that inside sales is going to have conversion goals. And so obviously if there's a big chunk of leads out there that haven't been converted, I think we want to convert them, not just, we don't want to stop once we've gotten to our goal. You're held accountable to your goal, yes, but if there's more ways that we can extend Girl Scouting, we want to continue to do that. Secondly, again, because we have a whole department now that's dedicated to converting leads to members, those are things that we can take a look at workload and divvy out with our inside sales teams and the recruitment and community engagement and get more members converted that way.
There's nothing else in the queue.
No way.
Seriously.
Okay. All right. Well, similarly to last time, what we'll do is we've got some FAQs. Wait a minute. Oh, hold on. Another question's coming in.
Will inside sales conversion goals be based on overall numbers or by service unit? Will inside sales conversion goals be based on overall numbers or by service unit? I don't think we've totally defined exactly what the goals are going to be, but it certainly would be overall goals. However, it's important to know that the assignment of the leads would be by zip code. So that makes it by service unit, but all of the parameters around that still have yet to be determined.
Yeah, and if I understand the question, I think they're asking, am I gonna have a conversion goal for each service unit? Yeah, okay, so it'll be overall. Yeah, so the answer is, we're still defining it, but, you know, and we have to figure out what are the right benchmarks, but there will be a percentage overall that needs to be hit, for conversion. Any more questions coming in? Okay. All right, so like I said, similarly to last time, we have answered many of the questions in a written Excel document. Susan, I'm going to put her on the hook to send out the email again with the link to all the FAQs and anything that we're unable to answer, because as you know, we're getting information as we're giving it to you, so we're trying to answer it as fast as we can. We'll go out and put that question on the question log and make sure that we answer it as soon as we get the information. Thank you again for participating in the webinar. Continue to keep the questions coming. So if you do have questions, send them to myself, Kathy, Susan. Any of us will either do our best to answer it or we'll put it on the question log and get back to you. But thank you for joining the conversion webinar. Hopefully you learned something you didn't know. And we look forward to seeing you in mid-July when we talk about the other two phases.
Send an email about the recording.
We did record this, just like we did previously. I know that there were some issues with accessing that recording, and so we're trying to get those worked out. But if any of your coworkers were unable to join, we have recorded this, and we'll make sure we send that link out as well. Thank you, guys.